Most people walk through life unaware of the depth of personality that exists beyond the usual categories. They understand extroverts and introverts. They understand confidence and insecurity, but they rarely encounter the kind of woman who exists completely outside the normal spectrum: silent, self-governed, unapologetically independent, and mentally powerful in a way that feels almost unreal. When someone crosses paths with a Sigma female, they immediately sense that she operates on a psychological frequency most people never tap into. She lives according to her own rhythms, her own values, and her own internal compass. Nothing about her is reactive. Everything is intentional. A Sigma female doesn't announce who she is. She doesn't broadcast her strengths or dramatize her struggles. Her identity is shaped by inner truth, not outer noise, and that alone is enough to unsettle people who depend on external validation. She moves like someone who has met herself deeply, someone who has dissected her fears, confronted her shadows, and carved herself into a resilient human being who can stand alone, without applause or approval. People don't understand how she can walk with such certainty, because most people are shaped by the gaze of others. But she is shaped by clarity, self-awareness, and an unbreakable refusal to be anyone but herself. This script takes you into the psychology of a Sigma female, not just the traits others notice, but the internal processes behind them, because the truth is, a Sigma female doesn't just behave differently. She thinks differently. Her mind is a labyrinth of carefully built convictions, quiet strength, and bold intentions. Every choice she makes is rooted in self-respect. Every silence she chooses is layered with meaning. Every boundary she sets is forged from experience rather than emotion. She doesn't become who she is accidentally. She becomes who she is through discipline, self-trust, and a stubborn refusal to settle for less. One of the first things people notice about her is how effortlessly she can disappear from a crowd. Most people fear solitude because it forces them to confront themselves. But for a Sigma female, solitude is a sanctuary. When she removes herself from the world, she does it with purpose. She uses silence as a reset button, a way to untangle her thoughts, reorder her priorities, and regain her emotional equilibrium. She doesn't feel guilty for stepping away because she knows it's necessary for her growth. And every time she returns, she comes back sharper and more grounded. When others watch her disconnect so easily, they're shocked by her emotional autonomy. They can't understand how she can go long periods without constant texts, calls, or social interactions. They assume something must be wrong. But her silence is not a sign of distance. It's a sign of alignment. She's recharging, reorganizing, and strengthening the core of who she is. And when she returns, she steps back into life with the kind of mental clarity most people spend years chasing. Another thing that stands out about her is her ruthless commitment to emotional boundaries. A Sigma female doesn't entertain chaos. She doesn't tolerate disrespect. She doesn't overlook patterns that threaten her peace. The moment she recognizes a toxic dynamic, whether it's manipulation, jealousy, entitlement, or hidden competition, she withdraws without ceremony. She doesn't explain herself because she knows explanations rarely change manipulative people. Instead, she gives them the most powerful answer she has: absence. Her withdrawal is so sudden and clean that it leaves people confused. They expect arguments, emotional breakdowns, or attempts to fix things, but she has matured beyond the need for drama. To her, leaving quietly is a demonstration of strength, not fear. She protects her emotional space with a level of discipline that most people don't understand. And because she doesn't announce her boundaries, people only realize they crossed them once she's gone. Many people misinterpret this emotional distance as coldness, but she isn't cold, she's careful. She chooses where her energy goes because she knows what it took to build that energy in the first place. She knows how difficult it was to unlearn old insecurities, heal from betrayal, detach from unhealthy patterns, and rebuild her identity piece by piece. People who haven't done that kind of internal work can't understand why she guards herself so fiercely. But the Sigma female doesn't expect them to understand. She protects her peace for herself, not for validation. Her independence shows in the way she interacts socially as well. While most people unconsciously follow social hierarchies, the Sigma female remains untouched by them. She isn't impressed by popularity. She isn't influenced by status. And she definitely isn't intimidated by authority. She treats everyone according to character, not position. Whether someone is admired or disliked by others doesn't affect her judgment. She evaluates people based on authenticity, consistency, and integrity, not image. Because of this, she often stands out as a sort of social wild card, someone who can't be classified or controlled. In group settings, people instinctively feel the shift in energy around her. She listens more than she speaks, observes more than she reacts, and participates only when she finds value in the moment. Some people find this unsettling. They interpret her detachment as judgment or disinterest, when in reality she's simply filtering the environment. She has no desire to dominate conversations or impress anyone, yet she commands silent authority through her presence alone. This quiet authority comes from a deep understanding of human behavior. A Sigma female is intensely perceptive. She notices the subtleties that others overlook, the small hesitations in someone's voice, the flicker of insecurity in someone's expression, the hidden envy behind a compliment, or the shift in tone when someone is lying. She absorbs information naturally, almost effortlessly, because she has trained herself to pay attention. To her, human interaction is like an unspoken language, and she has mastered its grammar. People are always surprised by how well she can read them. They often underestimate her because she doesn't seek attention or express herself loudly. But she sees everything. She knows when someone is being genuine and when someone is pretending. She knows when someone is silently competing with her. She knows when someone is trying to manipulate her with charm or flattery. Even when she doesn't respond, she records every detail. Her intuition acts as her internal guide, helping her navigate social dynamics with precision. Her perceptiveness is one of the reasons she keeps her circle small. She doesn't have the tolerance for shallow friendships or surface-level interactions. She values depth, real conversations, real emotions, real connections. She thrives on authenticity, and she can't stand insincerity. This is why she invests in only a few people, but invests deeply. She would rather build meaningful bonds with a small handful of individuals than scatter her energy among dozens of acquaintances who don't truly see her. People who are used to shallow interactions feel intimidated by her emotional depth. They can't understand why she doesn't respond to gossip or meaningless chatter. They misinterpret her silence as disinterest when, in reality, she's simply uninterested in anything that lacks substance. Her high standards aren't about superiority, they're about emotional safety. She knows the value of her attention, so she gives it sparingly. What shocks people even more is her ability to pursue goals without needing anyone's support. Many people delay their dreams because they want approval, encouragement, or companionship, but a Sigma female moves independently. She doesn't wait for someone to guide her. She doesn't need someone to validate her vision. She makes decisions on her own and trusts her judgment completely. This independence isn't arrogance, it's self-trust. She has built her confidence through experience. She has faced challenges alone, solved problems alone, healed alone, and grown alone. These experiences taught her that she is capable of surviving and thriving without a safety net. And because she has learned to rely on herself, she moves with a fearless determination that others struggle to understand. When she commits to a goal, whether it's career, education, personal growth, or creative ambition, she approaches it with unwavering focus. She blocks out distractions, cuts off negative influences, and pours her energy into the process. People are often stunned by how quickly she progresses. They don't see the hours of discipline, the sacrifices, the late nights, or the self-doubt she had to battle. They only see the results, and those results make her seem almost superhuman. Her work ethic is mirrored in the way she communicates. She doesn't waste words. She doesn't speak just to be heard. When she talks, her sentences are intentional. She expresses herself clearly, calmly, and powerfully. Her voice rarely rises, even in heated situations. She doesn't use volume to make a point, she uses clarity. People are always surprised by how calmly she handles conflict. While others get emotional or defensive, she remains steady. She chooses logic over impulsiveness. She listens fully before responding. She takes her time before making judgments. And because she stays grounded while others lose control, she often ends up influencing conversations. Without trying, her calmness is disarming. It forces people to slow down and rethink their positions. Men especially find this trait intriguing. She doesn't flirt for attention or mold her personality to fit someone else's preferences. Her self-respect creates a magnetism that draws people toward her. She gives off an aura of emotional maturity that feels rare, but she doesn't entertain everyone who comes her way. She evaluates romantic interest with the same precision she applies to everything else. She doesn't rush into relationships, nor does she accept low effort. She pays attention to consistency, emotional intelligence, honesty, and long-term compatibility. Her selectiveness often shocks men who are accustomed to instant validation. They don't understand how a woman can remain uninterested in their attempts, but her lack of urgency comes from confidence, not arrogance. She knows her worth too well to settle for anything that doesn't match her emotional standards. She's not looking for someone to complete her, she is looking for someone who can meet her at the level she has already built for herself. Her choice to live according to her own rules is what truly sets her apart. She has a personal code, one she created through experience, introspection, and self-discipline. She doesn't conform to societal expectations just because everyone else does. She doesn't follow popular trends if they don't resonate with her. She doesn't adopt beliefs that conflict with her values. She stays true to herself even when it's inconvenient or misunderstood. This authenticity shocks people because conformity is easier than self-discovery. Most people let the world decide who they should be, but she decides for herself. Every decision she makes, from how she dresses to how she works to how she forms relationships, is rooted in self-awareness rather than pressure. The Sigma female's unpredictability doesn't come from chaos or impulsiveness. It comes from her ability to perceive layers of meaning in situations long before anyone else notices something is off. When she enters a room, she quietly maps the energy, the motivations, the subtle emotional exchanges. She sees the unspoken order beneath the surface. That's why people often feel exposed in her presence, not because she judges, but because she observes with startling clarity. A Sigma female doesn't simply listen to words, she listens to the spaces between them, the pauses, the inconsistencies, the emotional trails left behind. She hears what people meant to hide. This depth of perception shapes the way she interacts with the world. She doesn't waste time confronting lies or calling out pretenders. She just quietly withdraws, leaving people wondering how she saw through everything so fast. While most people overlook the little things, she notices habits, patterns, shifts in tone, contradictions in someone's story. She reads micro-expressions like a second language. This ability to detect insincerity isn't something she flaunts. She treats it as a protective shield, a tool that helps her decide who deserves access to her inner world. And because she values authenticity so deeply, she often shocks people by refusing to tolerate emotional games. She will walk away mid-conversation if she senses manipulation. She won't sugarcoat her boundaries or water down her expectations to make others comfortable. People sometimes mistake her detachment for coldness, but in reality, she simply chooses truth over convenience, depth over performance, and genuine connection over shallow attention. Her independence is not limited to her lifestyle, it extends into her emotional landscape. She doesn't fear solitude. In fact, she requires it. Solitude isn't empty space to her. It's where she recharges, reflects, resets her direction, and reconnects with her own inner voice. Time alone is how she maintains clarity in a world filled with noise. Friends may not understand why she disappears for days, but she doesn't apologize for protecting her peace. She knows her creativity, her strength, and her sense of purpose come from these silent stretches where she can breathe freely without absorbing anyone else's energy. Because she is so used to relying on herself, people are often shocked by the confidence she carries even when she isn't loud about it. Her confidence doesn't come from external validation. It comes from her own competence, her self-awareness, and her resilience. She has walked through challenges that no one saw, fought battles in silence, and rebuilt herself without seeking applause. That's why her presence feels grounded. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's simply being who she has always been, unapologetically self-directed. This inner stability allows her to remain calm in situations that overwhelm others. While people panic, she becomes even more collected. Her mind sharpens under pressure. She evaluates every angle, every possibility, every outcome. She doesn't rush decisions, but she doesn't freeze either. She trusts her instincts, and her instincts are usually right. People who underestimate her often discover, too late, that she always had a plan, not because she shared it, but because she built it quietly while everyone else was distracted. Another thing that shocks people is her refusal to be influenced by trends, expectations, or social pressure. She doesn't adopt beliefs because they're popular, nor does she participate in something simply because everyone else is doing it. She analyzes everything independently. She questions motives, systems, and unspoken rules. She rejects conformity if it compromises her principles. This can make her stand out in a world shaped by imitation, but she would rather stand alone with integrity than blend in with a crowd she doesn't respect. People often wonder how she maintains such a strong sense of self. The truth is, she studies herself as deeply as she studies the world. She knows her strengths, but she also acknowledges her weaknesses without insecurity. She embraces her contradictions. She isn't afraid to evolve, shed old versions of herself, or walk away from environments that no longer align with her growth. Her adaptability doesn't come from trying to fit in, it comes from learning, upgrading, and pushing herself beyond her comfort zone. She doesn't just survive change. She transforms through it. Her personal standards are another aspect that surprise people. She expects accountability, honesty, effort, and emotional maturity not because she's demanding, but because she gives these things herself. She doesn't settle for half-hearted relationships or friendships that drain her. If someone wants a place in her life, they must bring consistency and authenticity. She will not chase, beg, or cling. If something feels forced, she lets it go. She values alignment over attachment. People sometimes label her mysterious, but what they're really sensing is her reluctance to reveal everything. She doesn't broadcast her feelings, plans, or vulnerabilities. She shares selectively, intentionally, and only with those she trusts deeply. This level of privacy creates a sense of allure. She's like a book with chapters not easily opened. People are intrigued because they can't predict her next move, can't read her easily, can't decode her intentions. She carries a depth that requires patience and effort to understand qualities many people lack. Her ambition is another force that catches people off guard. She is not driven by competition. She doesn't need to outshine others. Instead, she focuses on her own path, her own progress, her own goals. She works quietly, consistently, and strategically. She doesn't announce her plans. She just executes them. While others talk about their dreams, she builds hers. While others wait for approval, she takes action. That's why her success feels sudden to those watching from the outside. One day she was invisible. The next, she's standing exactly where she intended to be. She thrives on discipline, intention, and long-term vision. And because she is so committed to self-improvement, she embraces discomfort in ways many people avoid. She is willing to challenge her beliefs, confront her fears, and push herself through uncertainty. Growth is not optional for her, it's her natural state. She values learning more than being right. She values evolution more than stability. She is constantly refining her identity, skills, and mindset. Her communication style also surprises people. She doesn't speak to fill silence. She speaks when she has something meaningful to say. Her words are measured, thoughtful, deliberate. She avoids gossip, small talk, and superficial conversation because they feel empty to her. Instead, she gravitates toward deep discussions, ideas, principles, perspectives, inner worlds. She asks questions that reveal what people hide from themselves. She listens not to respond, but to understand. And when she does speak, her honesty can be startling. She doesn't sugarcoat, but she also doesn't criticize needlessly. Her directness is rooted in clarity, not cruelty. People often misinterpret this as emotional distance, but the truth is, she feels deeply, so deeply that she must filter what she allows into her heart. Her emotions run like an underground river, quiet, powerful, unseen by most. She processes her feelings internally instead of projecting them outward. When she cares with intensity. When she loves with loyalty. But she won't express these things flamboyantly. She shows affection through consistency, presence, and depth, not through dramatic displays. This depth makes her highly selective about relationships. She is not impressed by status, charm, or appearances. She is not impressed by status, charm, or appearances. She looks for energy that aligns with her strength, authenticity, self-awareness, emotional intelligence. A Sigma female can see potential in people long before they see it themselves, but she refuses to fix, save, or reshape anyone. She understands that growth must come from within. She doesn't attach herself to chaos because she has already fought through her own. She doesn't attach herself to chaos because she has already fought through her own. Her romantic dynamic is especially unique. She is attracted to partners who respect her autonomy instead of trying to limit it. She values partnerships that feel like alliances, not entanglements. She won't chase attention, and she won't play games. She prefers slow building, deeply rooted connections. She doesn't fear commitment. She fears losing herself in the wrong one. And because she respects herself so fully, She refuses relationships that compromise her identity. People are shocked by how easily she walks away from situations others cling to. This is because she isn't driven by fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of failure. She has faced those fears early in life and learned to coexist with them. Now, she chooses what aligns with her spirit, not what fills a temporary void. When she closes a door, she doesn't peek back to see if it stays shut. She trusts her decision and moves forward with certainty. Another powerful trait is her ability to reinvent herself. Many people stay attached to old versions of themselves because they fear change, but the Sigma female sees change as a form of liberation. She discards outdated identities like a snake shedding its skin. She understands that growth requires letting go of habits, relationships, mindsets, environments, and sometimes entire chapters of life. Reinvention isn't a crisis for her. It's a ritual. It's how she stays aligned with her purpose. Her presence in a professional environment often surprises people too. She doesn't compete loudly. She competes silently. She doesn't seek validation from authority figures. She doesn't seek validation from authority figures. She follows her own ethical code. She doesn't cut corners, but she also doesn't allow anyone to take advantage of her effort. She sets boundaries early, communicates them clearly, and enforces them consistently. She doesn't take part in workplace drama or politics. She focuses on excellence, precision, and results. That's why she often becomes indispensable without trying to be. Her reputation spreads quietly. People trust her not because she is charming, but because she is reliable. Her leadership style is equally distinctive. She does not dominate with force or demand obedience. Instead, she leads through example calmly, competently, and with a deep sense of responsibility. She inspires others to rise to their potential by creating an environment of respect and autonomy. She doesn't micromanage. She empowers. She doesn't shout. She strategizes. People naturally follow her because her energy communicates capability, vision, and stability. Her intuition is another trait that sets her apart. She notices the invisible threads connecting situations. She senses motives, sees patterns in behavior, and predicts outcomes based on subtle cues. Her intuition isn't mystical, it's the result of observing, analyzing, and internalizing information subconsciously. This gives her an uncanny ability to make decisions that appear risky to others but are grounded in deep inner certainty. Whether it's trusting a stranger, rejecting an opportunity that looks perfect on the surface, or pursuing something no one else understands, yet she follows her instincts with unwavering faith. People also underestimate her emotional strength. She has endured silent battles that shaped her resilience. She has faced disappointments that forged her independence. She has healed from wounds that taught her boundaries. She doesn't fear heartbreak, failure, or change because she has already survived them. Every scar carries wisdom. Every setback has strengthened her. She no longer seeks a life without challenges. She seeks a life where her strength is matched by her purpose. Her relationship with success is deeply personal. She doesn't flaunt achievements or brag about her progress. She celebrates quietly, with gratitude and humility. She sees success not as a destination, but as a reflection of her dedication. She sees success not as a destination, but as a reflection of her dedication. She evaluates her life not by external metrics, but by internal alignment. Is she living authentically? Is she growing? Is she contributing something meaningful? This inner compass is why she rarely feels lost. Even when she changes direction, she does it intentionally, guided by her values rather than the expectations of others. Because she is so self-aware, she also has a unique relationship with failure. She doesn't fear making mistakes. She sees them as information, feedback, data for improvement. When something goes wrong, she analyzes the root cause, adapts, and tries again. She doesn't blame others, nor does she wallow in regret. She treats every setback as a stepping stone to something better. Her resilience comes from this mindset, the belief that she can rebuild, repair, and rise from anything. Her lifestyle often surprises people too. She can enjoy simple routines, quiet mornings, long walks, books, music, introspective hobbies. She doesn't need constant stimulation. She doesn't rely on loud environments for excitement. She doesn't rely on loud environments for excitement. Her entertainment comes from creativity, learning, and imagination. She finds joy in depth rather than distraction. At the same time, she can be unexpectedly adventurous when something resonates with her spirit. She might spontaneously explore a new place, pursue a new skill, or dive into a project that challenges her. She follows curiosity like a compass. She lives in harmony with her own rhythm, sometimes slow, sometimes intense, always intentional. She lives in harmony with her own rhythm, sometimes slow, sometimes intense, always intentional. Her sense of morality also sets her apart. She doesn't bend her principles to gain advantage. She doesn't manipulate people to get what she wants. She doesn't manipulate people to get what she wants. She doesn't believe in shortcuts that compromise her values. People may try to tempt her with easy routes, but she refuses anything built on dishonesty or exploitation. Her integrity is not negotiable. It is the foundation of her identity. Something else that shocks people is her ability to detach emotionally without becoming bitter. When someone shows their true colors, she believes them. She doesn't try to change them. She doesn't seek revenge or closure. She simply removes her energy and continues forward. Her detachment isn't cruelty, it's clarity. She knows that peace is more valuable than proximity. She knows that peace is more valuable than proximity. Her presence itself often triggers strong reactions. Some people are drawn to her, others feel threatened. This is because she embodies a rare combination of calmness, intelligence, and independence. This is because she embodies a rare combination of calmness, intelligence, and independence. She doesn't chase approval, and that unsettles people who depend on external validation. She doesn't try to impress, and that confuses people who rely on performance. She doesn't fear being misunderstood, and that frustrates people who rely on social conformity. She exists outside the predictable patterns most people follow, and that makes her presence unforgettable. Her mindset about life is deeply philosophical. She sees experiences not as random events, but as lessons. She sees experiences not as random events, but as lessons. She believes life is shaped by choices, patterns, energy, and alignment. She listens to her intuition more than social noise. She trusts her inner clarity more than outside opinions. This worldview gives her a powerful sense of agency. She trusts her inner clarity more than outside opinions. This worldview gives her a powerful sense of agency. She doesn't wait for permission. She doesn't wait for perfect timing. She creates opportunities instead of seeking them. She moves with purpose instead of following the crowd. The Sigma female is not defined by rebellion. She is defined by sovereignty over her mind, her emotions, her choices, her path. She does not seek dominance or submission. She seeks equilibrium. She doesn't want control over others. She wants control over her own life. She doesn't want control over others. She wants control over her own life. Her strength lies not in being unbreakable, but in being unshakable, not in being emotionless, but in being emotionally disciplined, not in being isolated, but in choosing connections that uplift her spirit. This is why people never forget her. She is not loud, yet they feel her presence. She is not boastful, yet they remember her accomplishments. She is not seeking attention, yet she draws it effortlessly. She is not trying to inspire, yet she does simply by existing in her truth. And the more she grows into her rare identity, the more she leaves a mark on the world that cannot be erased.